Good evening, friends. It's Chris Angel coming at you for another episode of Marketing for the Rest of Us. And tonight we're going to talk about a time in my life when the feeling was anxious. I definitely had this feeling of I had some big decisions to make in my career. This was 2006, I want to say. And I was in real estate. I was a real estate agent at the time. I was not a great real estate agent. I mean, I think I took care of my clients, and I think I did better than average, but I wasn't pulling it in like other people I knew. And I had some decisions to make about my life. Like, who am I? What am I going to do? What am I doing? Right? Like, so there's something like when you have a vision for something and you're like, I want to go there. But then on the journey to there, you never feel like you have traction. You kind of feel like you keep spinning your wheels. You're like, is this it? Like, is this what I'm doing? And so you start to live in a space of anxiety or anxiousness. You're kind of like, this isn't it. And I don't know about you, but for me, you can feel a clock ticking, right? Like you're like, man, I got to figure this out. I can't keep not knowing if this is what I need to do or not. So at this time in 2006, into my career, I had started my career in real estate because I didn't know what else I wanted to do. So it wasn't like some, spiritual divine calling to be in real estate. It was I had read Rich Dad Poor Dad, and that seemed like a good fit for me to learn about real estate investing, and I could sell it at the same time. And so there were these spaces of not knowing who I was, not knowing if this was the right path. There's just lots of anxiety around it. So fast forward, it was in that season of life, obviously. But I at that time I had my son. My son was born in 2004, so I had a 2-year-old. My daughter wasn't yet born, and I remember taking a walk at night by myself, and I was just being with this anxiousness, and I hadn't prayed in a long time, and I sort of had given up the title of a Christian. That doesn't really fit me anymore, but I definitely had this connection to God or the universe. Here's what I said. I went on this walk and I said, what would you have me do? But if you tell me to do something I don't want to do, I'm not doing it. Like, that was my condition, right? And that was my negotiation with, the universe was, what would you have me do? It was interesting. It was really interesting because I had this sense of like, I'm going to step my toe. Like, I've been hiding over here in a closet of, I'm just going to put my head down and work and figure it out. But so I really hadn't included the divine in any of my decisions. But I had this sense like, okay, I will step my toe out of this closet and I will ask you, what should I do? What would you have me do? And if you tell me to do something I don't want to do, I'm not doing it. So that was my condition in my negotiation with the universe. But here's what I got on the other side of that. As soon as I asked the question, what would you have me do? I was flooded with this sense of peace. And following that piece, what I got was, I would never ask you to do something. I would never set you up for failure. I would never ask you to do something I didn't think you could do. Right? I would never set you up for failure. And the way I heard that from the divine was like a father to a son, right? My son was 2 years old, and in that moment, all I could think of was, all I want for my 2-year-old son is to have to know himself as the powerful person he is, and to know himself as loved, and all those things, right? And I would never put him in a position where I would want him to suffer and fail. And I started to tear up on this walk. So the sequence was, right, I asked, what would you have me do? If you tell me to do something I don't want to do, I'm not going to do it. I immediately was flooded with this sense of peace. and I started to tear up because I had this thought, like, I would never ask you to do something you couldn't do, right? I would never set you up for failure. And the feeling went from anxiety, which is what led me into that walk, right? That season of life, I just kept feeling this anxiety, to immediately feeling this sense, this deep sense of love and safety and trust and excitement and curiosity. Like there was, what a shift, right? To go from anxiety to love. What a shift. What a shift. I could not have thought myself there, by the way. I could not have thought my way to that place. That was a soulful thing. That was not a thinking thing. That was a soulful thing that happened. And that moment has always stuck with me because it led to, within a couple months, I was at I think when you partner with the divine, nothing happens like the next day. Maybe it does, but you just can't predict what's going to happen. And so, but I've done this enough now in life to know that things happen. So it was a couple weeks or a couple months after that moment. I was at an event. Noticed me, and they noticed my energy. They were like, "Hey, would you come and run our company?" So that was, I want to say, in October, November. And by January, I moved my family 300 miles and started running a real estate company, right? I moved from selling real estate to running a real estate company. And I did that for 5 years. And I love leadership. It was a great moment for me. But it was so interesting to just be in that space, to move from that space of anxiety to love, to move from a space of feeling anxious to a space of feeling loved. Totally changed how I did that season of life. Now, I wish I could say that I had learned my lesson in that, and that from that day on, the rest of his days, Criss Angel lived in a space of love and not anxiety. But as is, I believe, the human condition, I fell back into thinking brain, right? Monkey mind, and which is so easy to do when you're in business, by the way. That I just wasn't in the space of partnering with the divine. And that, I think, leads you to anxiousness and not love. So, look, the reason I share this story with you is I'm in this season in the last several months of rediscovering this partnership with the divine and this sense of love and trusting in and surrendering to something bigger than me. And if you're in this tribe and you're some type of spiritual seeker, you're spiritually awake, right? You actively are interested in that conversation. I mean, that's really who I love working with, right? People who are always asking the whys of life. Why do we live this life? What is life for? What is God? Who am I? So if you're in this tribe and you're in business, see, it's an interesting mixture, right? That when you're a spiritual seeker, but you're also in business, it's a very interesting blend of energies. And what can happen is you can, in all other areas of life even, you can be totally connected to the divine. And then you put your business hat on and you start getting all logical and thinking and all the things that you've got to figure it out, and you start carrying all the things on your shoulders, right? And what you start to experience is the anxiety, right? Like I had, like I've been experiencing. And I haven't cracked this code yet. I have done it. I just haven't found the predictable repeating process to make this happen. But there's something interesting when you surrender to the divine. It looks way different, and it's not. I think one of the things my ego keeps telling me is that faith is not a great strategy, right? Like you partnering with the divine isn't predictable. And that's not a great strategy, because you can't foresee or forecast your business that way. But I'm coming back to that as a way I want to live, because it feels, I get the biggest sense of love from that. I get more anxiety when I try to figure things out myself, and I actually feel like I'm living in love when I partner with the divine. Now, again, partnering with the divine doesn't really give you like forecastable models in business, but what I can tell you from somebody who's lived from that space, life is exciting. A great book, by the way, for you to follow up on that if you're interested is Untethered Soul by Michael Singer. I mean, that book is the epitome of faith as a strategy. I mean, I say that, and it wasn't really a strategy, but all he, in the book, he talks about all he wanted to do was his yoga poses, right? All he wanted to do was his yoga poses. And he took a company public. I mean, just he was obedient and sensitive to and surrendering to what was happening around him. And he he followed those promptings. So I think for a good part of my adult life, I've really put the partnering with the divine in the category called that's naive, or that doesn't work, or I don't do that anymore. And I'm coming back to, now I'm 44, I'm coming back to this desire to partner with the divine, and to, rather than try to accomplish the things in my soul that make my heart sing, right? The things that I really want to do in this world, and trying to accomplish those on my own, I think I would rather hold those desires in my heart and then partner with the divine and keep thinking like, what would you have me do? Right? Every time I've done that, it's been, the ride has been so much more enjoyable. And when I don't do that, and I try to figure it out myself, the ride is full of anxiety. So that's what I have for you tonight, gang. You know, if you are a spiritual seeker, if you are somebody in business who is sensitive spiritually to things, it's very possible that you, like me, have been stuck in your head trying to figure it all out yourself. And you, in this part of your life, have forgotten to partner with the divine, right? Or you haven't fully brought yourself to surrender to something bigger than yourself. If that's you, like, all you can do is, you know, just like I did in 2006, you can ask the question, like, what would you have me do? Just start there. What would you have me do? And see what shows up. Just see what shows up. That's it for tonight, gang. If you want to learn more about how I help people in marketing, right? How do you find your message and then share that with the world? How do you share with the world in a way that feels authentic and down to earth and not pompous or spammy? You can go to groundswellmethod.com, and there's some videos waiting for you there. You watch the videos, and on the last page of those videos, there's an application button for my upcoming 6-week intensive program. If you're interested in that, you can fill out the application and go from there. So thanks for hanging out with me here. Until tomorrow when we go live again. Here's to you living in love.